Mike Johnson becomes the new speaker. I believe this is
clearly this is a very, very huge moment in the history of the House.
I believe this is a election denier who has been elected, and he's against Ukraine
clearly
funding.
This is a very, very huge moment in the history of the House of Representatives. A new Speaker of the House appears to have been elected, unless some members decide to change their minds, John. The Republicans clearly, in this particular case, got their act together.
And out of 3 weeks of chaos comes very important history. A man even many Republican senators knew nothing about this morning, and I would believe most Americans knew nothing about this morning. Is about to be third in line to the presidency once he is sworn in as Speaker of the House. Mike Johnson will be third in line to this presidency of the United States after the president and the vice president. He will now be the leader of a very fractious Republican conference. And we were talking earlier, the Democrats believe they can use him and Trump to run the 2024 campaign. That will be a challenge. There's a huge difference between him and the Democrats, but we're going to see the president in the Rose Garden in a few minutes. He's never negotiated with Joe Biden. He's going to have to now negotiate with the president of the United States. He's also never negotiated with Mitch McConnell. This will also exacerbate, because of the wing of the party he comes from, the differences we have seen play out in the last couple of years between House Republicans and Senate Republicans. So it's a new face. It's a new leader. He's a blank slate. That is an enormous opportunity. The challenges are so many for a person who has zero experience at this level. Doesn't mean he can't do it, but he has zero experience at what he inherits in just a matter of minutes. They'll tally the votes. He'll be sworn in as Speaker. He will get the gavel. And then, wow, we move into a next very big chapter.
Hakeem Jeffries is about to introduce the next Speaker of the House, Representative Mike Johnson, who has just been elected. Let's listen to him.
From the great state of Louisiana and the 56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Mike Johnson.
Thank you all. First, a few words of gratitude. I want to thank Leader Jeffries. I do look forward to working with you on behalf of the American people. I know we see things from very different points of view, but I know that in your heart you love and care about this country and you want to do what's right. And so we're going to find common ground there, all right? I want to express my great thanks for our Speaker Emeritus, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin has dedicated over 2 decades of his life to selfless public service, 16 of those years in this House. And you would be hard-pressed to find
I'll listen to a little more, and then we'll move from
this
this
institution more or has contributed more to it. He is the reason we're in this majority today. His impact can never be overstated, and I want to thank him for his leadership, his friendship, and the selfless sacrifice that you and Judy have made for so many years. You helped build it, Kevin, and we owe you a great debt of gratitude. I want to thank the dedicated and overworked staff of this beleaguered House. They accept praise so stoically. But Miss Susan Cole, our House reading clerk, and yes. Listen, all the clerks and all the staff, you know, they're terribly overworked. This has been a grueling process, but they have served an integral role in keeping our republic, and we thank them for that service. I know we all do. I want to thank my dedicated wife of almost 25 years, Kelly. She's not here. We couldn't get a flight in time. This happened sort of suddenly.
All right, so I think
but we're going to celebrate.
Just
soon.
wanted
She
to
spent the last,
give him a
couple of weeks
chance
on her knees in prayer to the Lord.
Say some
and,
words or
she's
whatever.
a little worn out.
I think we can pause it. I'm gonna round up and get up out of here in just a second here. Let me see if there's any other commentary. There is not. They just play a speech. So let's end with this. Let's listen before he gets elected. Let's listen to what Morning Joe was talking about this morning about him. Now they're going to go from one subject to the other into the subject here.
And they go, man, I don't know that we can count on America anymore. And the Republicans know this is happening. And as Willie said yesterday, so 5 or 6 people don't mind that the American reputation is being tarnished across the globe. Again, according to Chairman McCall and other Republicans.
I don't want to stop the video, so I just want, because I want to get out of here. They're talking about it before it happening. So you can see the caption here: House remains without a speaker amid Israel-Hamas war. It should say Israel-Gaza massacre. And this is, and then so they're going to talk about it in general. They got to lay out how this makes them look bad, and then they go into talking about Mike Johnson. So let's turn the volume back up and let's get back into this clip here.
What America would do, because we're fairly predictive in what we would do to defend liberty all over the world on behalf of our allies and against our foes. That no longer is true in foreign capitals because of the behavior of a handful of Republicans in the House of Representatives who have taken our constitutional government, turned it upside down to the point where we are in business, apparently, according to the Republicans, not to govern. We're in business to go send people to Washington to destroy the efficiency of government. And that's where we are today.
So, Charlie, there's actually a connection to what we've been talking about earlier in the show with Mark Meadows and Jenna Ellis, which is that it appears these members of the Republican House caucus are rooting out anyone, C. Emmer, who was nominated and then quickly stepped away.
So if you didn't hear, Tom Emmer was nominated yesterday. 3 hours after being nominated, he stepped down when he couldn't get past a certain amount because Donald Trump said he didn't like him. Donald Trump de-endorsed him or was against him, and he didn't win. And they reported that, yes, Donald Trump had a hand in him not winning this election. It was off of MSNBC. I played the clip yesterday, so let's listen.
Because he dared not support those lawsuits challenging the election results. Now, he did sign on to one in Texas, so he's not totally clean on this. But anybody, and they're proudly talking behind the scenes to Trump's people saying, I stood up for you in the caucus room. I stood up for you. We're getting rid of anybody who does not support you. Donald Trump hangs over this process entirely.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, the Republicans are now in this, doom loop of crazy and absurdity, deep dive, into the backbenches to come up with somebody who would be acceptable, acceptable in a party that has been, enabling and empowering the legislative terrorists for years. I mean, this has been a long time coming. But you're absolutely right. What you saw yesterday was Donald Trump facing all of the legal problems that he is facing, reasserted himself as the apex predator of the Republican Party. He doesn't have the clout to get somebody like Jim Jordan elected as speaker, but he certainly has the clout that he can destroy anyone who has taken a stand against him on the big lie. And so what you are seeing is, in fact, the support for the big lie, support for overturning the 2020 election has now become, not just a litmus test. It has become a life or death requirement in the Republican Party because Donald Trump has made it clear that if you did not sign on.
So let me read this. Donald Trump puts out, I have many wonderful friends from wanting to be Speaker of the House, and some are truly great warriors. Reinhold Tom Emmer, who I do not know well, is not one of them. So you see that there. You see where he was against the
to what he attempted to do on January 6th, that he will kneecap you. He will take you out. He's sitting in court. I mean, think about his day yesterday. He's sitting in court hearing, testimony about how he, all the fraud he engaged in. He hears that Jenna Ellis has flipped the story of Mark Meadows getting immunity. And yet what does he do? He basically says, I am still in charge of the Republican Party. I can extend this chaos and I can set the standard for the future of this party. It's kind of a remarkable 24 hours.
And he called yesterday in a post, Congressman Emmer, a, quote, globalist rhino, because he did not support the attempted coup in the 2020 election. So, Julie Sirkin, this brings us to you today. You've been covering this somehow for the last 3 weeks, trying to figure out who is going to be the choice. For the moment, it's
now we get
Johnson of Louisiana. Who's next on the world's most boring reality show?
Well, we've
You
had
mean Morning
Groundhog
Joe?
Day never ending for the last 22 days, but today could be different. And it's not because some of the hard right conservatives, these flamethrowers, are necessarily worried about the two global wars or the impending government shutdown deadline around the corner. This could potentially work out for Mike Johnson, the four-term Louisiana congressman, because these hard right conservatives are worried that moderate Republicans are going to get fed up with this entire process and start working across the aisle with Democrats to at least temporarily empower the Speaker pro tem, Patrick McHenry. This could really be some of these hard right conservatives' last-ditch effort to get somebody in the Speaker's chair that they could potentially swallow. And Mike Johnson was one of the chief architects, as you know, of that 2020 election overturn effort in the Capitol. And it's why, for so many reasons, he has the support not only of former President Trump, but also he could potentially unite the wide swath of opinions in the conference. He's not necessarily a loud flamethrower like Jim Jordan was. He operates quietly. He's even been seeking this bid, I'm told, quietly this whole time for the past few weeks. But he didn't officially enter until he saw the writing on the wall, of course, for Emmer and some of the others. And potentially at 12 o'clock today, while we're skipping these secret ballots behind closed doors, Johnson apparently feels confident enough that he could go to the floor as a current member of leadership, the last current member of leadership that could potentially get the gavel and get the 217 votes needed on the floor. Now, it won't be easy for him. Obviously, he has an uphill battle here. But as I said, this could really be the last effort, the last time that some of the hard right, including those who ousted Kevin McCarthy from the Speaker's chair,
So he is
could
an
actually
election
get their
denier.
guy or somebody that they could be okay with in the Speaker's chair, because Johnson doesn't support Ukraine aid. He's been skeptical of it in the past. He's going to have to enter the room right away if he wins the gavel with McConnell, with Jeffries, with Schumer to try and hammer out the next government funding deadline.
That doesn't
but
make
he's
them
really
happy.
somebody who could be the voice for some of these hard right conservatives.
Well, but Charlie, if he doesn't support Ukraine funding, he's lost Chairman McCall and a hell of a lot of other Republicans.
No, he hasn't, Joe.
If he was at the forefront of the January 6th election denying scheme in the House of Representatives, then he certainly has lost Ken Buck from Colorado.
Has he?
And a handful of other members.
We'll find out.
So they're not going to get there. At what point do Republicans?
Joe, somebody delivered the news to Joe that he got there. He got there, Joe. And that election denier, or else they said the January 6th or whatever other title they gave him, he won that speaker's race, and he is now the Speaker of the House.